وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I pray that all of you are well, inshallah ta'ala. And can I just ensure that you can all hear me? I'm sure you can, inshallah. Okay, so Bismillah.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. We can hear you.
Okay, so if it's not clear at any stage, you can just let me know. It does say my connection is a bit unstable, but we'll see how it goes, inshallah. Okay, so let's start straight away with Nahwu. Bismillah. Because we actually come, if you look at the mind map on the screen, we have actually come to the end of this mind map. So from the beginning, we first did Jumlatul Fi'liya, a verb-based sentence, and whenever you have a verb, you have a verb-based sentence, and you have in that sentence three parts. Nasara, the verb, the fi'l. Then you always have a fa'il, a doer, which will be at the end of the word, left or inside, and here it's at the end, a rajulu, and you have maf'ulun bihi. So that's a Jumlatul Fi'liya. And then you have a Jumlatul Ismiya, which is going to be a noun-based sentence. And there you have two parts, the focus of the sentence, which is called the mubtada, and the khabar, which is the news information about the focus. And the way we know it, we recognize it, is that for now, the first one will always be raf'un definite, and the second one will be raf'un indefinite, and it will be something is something. So whenever in Arabic you are saying is something, you are in fact making a Jumlatul Ismiya. Good. And then we have the murakkabs, the compounds or the fragments. The first one we did was Mawsuf and Sifa. Second one was Harful Jar and Ism Majroor. The third one was Mudaf and Mudafun Ilay. And last week's one, which was the latest one, was Ismul Isharah and Musharun Ilayhi. So quick recap, Mawsuf and Sifa is basically the second word is describing the first word, and the second word follows the first word in gend, except obviously when it's a plural of a non-human thing. Harful jar ism majroor is easy. Fil bayt, bita walika fi ala min ala hatta, and min as well. Any harful jar makes the next word into ismul majroor. And then mudaf and mudaf ilay, the way we recognize it is light followed by jar, and we add the and of, the something of something. Baytu rajli, the house of the man. And then Ismul Isharah is the one I want to just recap quickly before we go to the worksheet. So these 2, 4, 6 words are all isms. They're all asma. They're all isms, and they indicate towards something, or they demonstrate something. It's called demonstrative pronoun. So hadha means this for a male thing, and hadihi means this for a female thing, and can also mean these as well if you're speaking about the plural of a non-human thing. So if you say hadihi, you can say hadihil bint, which means this girl. But if you say the word buyut, buyut means houses, you could say hadihil buyut, these houses. Why? Because buyut, al-buyut is the plural of a non-human thing, and therefore we refer to it by the single female. So hadi can mean this or these. So hada this, hadihi this for female thing, or these. Now dhalika is further away, that. Dhalika, that for a male thing, or tilka, that for a female thing, or that for a plural, or those for a plural of a non-human thing. So hada, you can say it with me, hada, hadihi, dhalika, tilka. Again, hada, hadihi, dhalika, tilka. Last time from memory, هذا هذه ذلك تلك. And then the next one is هؤلاء, which means these. هؤلاء means these, referring to a group of people, and أولئك means those, referring to a group of people. Okay, so just to recap, the basic rule was that if you have هذا without an al after it, like هذا waladun, you add an is or an are. For example, هذا waladun, هذا this, waladun boy. If there's no al on walad there, you add an is and are. This is a boy. However, if you don't have if you have an al, هذا الولد, هذا this al waladu, the boy. If you have an al, you don't add is and are. It becomes this boy. It becomes this boy. ذلك ولد, that is a boy. ذلك الولد, that boy. Okay, so just remember that's the difference. The one is a jumla, a sentence. The without the al, it's a sentence. Something is something, and with the al, it's not a sentence. Okay, and we went through this last week, and just we'll go through this now. But just the labels, just refresh your mind. If we have a hada ismul ishara followed by a word that has an al, there's no is and or are, so it's not a sentence. So this will be translated as this house. If it has the al, we call the first one ismul ishara, and we call the second one musharun ilayhi. We only call musharun ilayhi if there's an al on it, and this will be a follower. In other words, it will follow the hal of the hada. Even though we can't see the hal of the hada, it has a hal, and it will follow the hal of the hada. So because al-baytu is raf'un, we actually know that the hada is also raf'un. Okay. And I want to go through this. And just lastly, if there's no al, then hada, so okay. Am I back? I lost you all for a second there.
Yes, Maulana.
Okay. So هذا صغير, هذا this صغير is small. So in other words, it's going to be a mubtada and a khabar. When something is something, we have mubtada and a khabar. So it's a brief summary, but what we'll do, inshallah, is we'll open your homework, your worksheet, and through that. Yes, Bismillah.
Maulana, we lost you there. You were still summarizing. If you have an al and it follows the hal of the.
Where was I? If you have an al.
Yeah, if you have the al and it follows the hal of the musharun ilay will follow the hal of the ismul ishara will follow the hal of the musharun ilay.
Okay. So I'll just summarize again from there. So again, if you have
The
an ismul
hals.
ishara, if you have an ismul ishara, then the word after it will always follow the hal of the ismul ishara and will be called musharun ilay. So musharun ilay is only when you have an al. So just two things you must remember. If there's an al afterwards, it's musharun ilay and it's a follower. So this is this house. If there's no al, if it would be hada baytun, it would be this is a house, and would be a mubtada and a khabar. So that's the basic summary. But what we'll do is we'll go through some examples, and then from there it will become clear, inshallah. So if you can open your workbooks to page number, there's no page numbers, there's worksheet number 8.2. Worksheet 8.2. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just do the first three with you, and then I'll ask you to each volunteer. And there's some interesting stuff in this worksheet, so we'll cover some interesting ground here. So you should be open on worksheet 8.2. Let me just zoom in here a bit. Okay. So here we have number 1. It says هذا القرآن هذا القرآن هذا القرآن. هذا means this. Al-Quran means Quran. And because we have an al here, we don't add an is or or. So we don't say this is a Quran or this is the Quran. The Quran. We say هذا القرآن, this Quran, this Quran. So هذا is ismul ishara and al-Qur'anu is musharun ilay, and the al-Qur'anu is following the hal of the هذا, which is in raf'un. Okay. Number 2. هذه النار هذه النار, and again nar is one of those female words. It's deemed feminine, like ard and shams. Nar is deemed feminine, like dar as well. Nar is feminine, so therefore you say هذه. هذه means this for a female thing, and naru, the fire. So هذه النار, this fire. The هذه is ismul ishara, and the nar is musharun ilayhi. Number 3. أولئك حزب الله. حزب الله. So أولئك means those, and hizb is a party, like a group, a party, and Allah. So therefore hizb, there is light. And the word Allah lafzul jalala is jar, so we're adding a the and a of. So Hizbullah translates as the party of Allah. The party of Allah. So ulaika, you can say they, or more correctly, those. And even though I know the hizb, it has an invisible al, we're going to make the rule here that if you don't see the al, if there's no visible al. So if there's no visible al, then we add an is on al. So ulaika, those are the party of Allah. Like those people there, they are the party of Allah. So ulaika will be the mubtada, the focus of the sentence. Give me news about the focus of the sentence. What about those people? Those Hizbullah, they are the party of Allah. Okay. So let's do number 4. We'll ask each student, inshallah, to do one, or whoever wants to volunteer, each one to do one, and then we see how it goes, inshallah. So Bismillah. Who wants to do it? Number 4, you must do 2 things. You must translate it, and you must try to add the labels, inshallah. So Tasneem, Bismillah.
Assalamualaikum Maulana. So I've got that bounty.
Okay,
so
you translate it as that bounty.
yes.
Okay, good. So that bounty. Yeah.
And Ralika will be your ismul ishara. And
okay, your ismul ishara.
And the next word will be your how do I say it now, Mark? the ilay.
Your
musharun
ilayhi.
Musharun ilayhi.
Musharun. So what hal is the dhalika in?
The dhalika is in nasbun.
Just remember the musharun ilayhi. Yes.
It's in raf'un.
It is in raf'un. Good, because the fadlu is a follower of the dhalika. Let me just change my connection 1 second. So dhalika al-fadlu means that bounty. Dhalika is the ismul ishara, and the al-fadlu is musharun ilayhi. Okay, good. I have 2 hands up. Are you volunteering to go? Or you have a question on that one?
For number 5, I have that messenger.
Okay, so the word, how do you translate the word rusul?
What does my
Remember, the word Rasul is a messenger. So what is a Rusul?
Is it messengers?
Messengers. So a Rasul is one messenger, and many messengers are Rusul. So how do you translate Tilka Rusul?
So those messengers.
Okay, good. So it's going to be those messengers. Okay, good. So let's do the labels first. Which label would you put on Tilka?
The Ismail Isharah.
Good. The Ismul Isharah and Arusul. Which label do you put there?
The Musharun Ilay.
Good. The Musharun Ilay. Perfect. So whenever you have an al after the Ismul Ishara, you call it Musharun Ilayhi. Musharun Ilayhi. So there's something strange about this, or not strange, unusual about this. So what's unusual about Tilka Rusul? Like which question comes to mind? Oh, yeah, no questions come to mind. There should be a question that comes to mind, Tilka Rusul. Anybody?
Tilka is in the feminine.
So Tilka is a feminine. And what type of feminine? Is it single or plural?
Single.
It's
this.
a single. So if you go back to our Ismul Isharas, we will see that the Hada is this and Hadihi is this for a female thing. And Dhalika is that and Tilka is that for a female thing. So it seems like strange because we know the Rusul are all males. So why is Allah using the single female to refer to the messengers? So the rule in Arabic is simple. And the rule is that if you have a broken plural, so it's like an extra rule now, an extra rule. If you have a broken plural, whether the broken plural is human or non-human, doesn't matter. If you have a broken plural, like Rusul, or like the plural of Alim is Ulama, or the plural of Rajul is Rijal. So even though those are referring, like Rijal is referring to men, and Rusul is referring to men, if you have a broken plural, you are permitted, you are allowed to reference it, refer to it with a single female reference or the normal plural reference. So you could say Ulaika Rusul, those messengers, or you could say Tilka Rusul, those messengers. So again, I repeat the rule. If you have a broken plural, you are allowed to refer to it with a single female reference. For example, and it might sound strange to you, but if I say kataba, which means wrote, and I say kataba ar-rijalu, it means the men wrote. I could, because rijal is a broken plural, I can also use a single female, and I can say katabat ar-rijalu. I have the option to do it in Arabic. Okay, so why is that the way it is? That's just the way the language is, that if you have a broken plural, you can refer to it as a single female. So Tilka Rusul means those messengers.
So
But
if
connect.
using Tilka, so can you use Tilka or Ulaika?
Yes.
Because Tilka means those.
Yes. So you could say Ulaika Rusul or you could say Tilka Rusul. Both are perfectly fine. Okay. So the difference is, to the previous rule we mentioned that if it's a plural of a non-human thing, you generally always refer to it by a single female. If it's a plural of a non-human thing, you generally always refer to it by a single female. But if it's a broken plural, you have the option of using the single female or the normal reference. So Tilka Rusul or Ulaika Rusul.
Mulana,
Yes,
literally
Bismillah.
it doesn't change the meaning, but is it supposed to have some sort of a change in understanding by using those interchangeably?
There is normally some subtleties with. So in other words, generally in Arabic, the meaning doesn't change for certain. Like for this, the meaning doesn't change on a general level, but there are some subtleties. But I don't know what they are. So we'll have to probably check tafsir and books of language, and they'll give you like very, very fine subtleties about how this is used. And so in other words, the meaning will stay the same, but there might be a different nuance. But I am not aware of that. But my experience generally is that there's always some nuance or some slight. There's a reason why it's tilka rusul, not ulaika rusul. But we'll have to check tafsir and books of language to know why. I'm not sure why.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Okay. Okay, good. So you find something in the Quran, Allah will use it like that. Allah will use a single female to refer to a male plural, a broken plural, that is, and that's allowed in Arabic. Okay, number 6. Ha'ula'il qawmi. Ha'ula'il qawmi. Who's going to go next? Okay, Sister Noor, Bismillah. Okay.
Maaf,
Okay,
Maulana,
brother.
my hand was up since the first hour.
Oh, okay. Brother Irshad, Bismillah.
Salaam alaikum. Matt, I had a question for the previous one. I can do this one also, though, and then I'll ask my question, inshallah.
Yes.
Okay, so ha'ula'i al-qawmi is these people.
Good.
And the first word, the ha'ula'i, is the ismun Isharah. And then we have the Isharah ilay because of the al.
Okay, just the second word is called what again? The second word is called?
The mushara ilay.
Musharun ilay. Okay, good.
Musharun ilay, okay.
Okay, good, perfect. Ha'ula il qawmi, these people, and as you said, is Musharun and Musharun ilay. Okay, look, your question about the previous one.
Yeah, Maulana, the question I had was regarding, like, for example, number 4, if you look in the translation, like on Quran.com, they don't translate it as that bounty. They translate it as, for example, with the Sahih International, it's that is the bounty. Why is there a discrepancy in that translation between how we are translating it and the translation?
Okay. So basically, what we're doing is we're just going through the default rule. So the default rule would be as we are teaching it. And then sometimes within a certain context or within a certain tafsir, there'll be kind of deviations from the detailed rule.
Okay.
So I don't know, even like when you say Dalik al-Kitabu, some translated it as that book and sometimes say that is the book. So what I'll do is in this lesson here, we will learn how to say that is the something.
Okay. So that was my follow-up question was how would you then say that is the?
Yes.
Because if you take off the al in this sentence, it would, like, for example, in number 4, that dhalika qaslu, that would be that is bounty.
Dhalika fadlun. Yes, that
Fadlu,
is a
yeah.
bounty. Yes.
Okay. So we can't. Okay,
so we're going to go through later on. How we do say that is the something.
Okay. Shukran.
It's coming. Yeah. So basically, what you find is that when you do the lesson, we have like the default rule, and then when we do the tafsir, there might be reasons for translating it differently or reasons for understanding it differently. But what is here is the default rule. Okay, Bismillah, number 7. Who wants to go? Somebody must go. Ulaika al-muqarrabun. Bismillah. Sister Hasina, Bismillah.
Okay, I translated as those brought near, or those near ones.
Okay,
And
those near ones.
Muqarrabun, right?
Those both is good.
And I say it's the first one is Ismul Isharah, and the other one Musharun ilay.
Ismul Isharah and Musharun ilay, perfect. And Ulaika means those, al-muqarrabun. Al-muqarrabun, we can say the near ones are fine, and also can say those ones who have been brought near. So muqarrab also means the one, actually means the ones that have been brought near. Ulaika al-muqarrabun, those near ones or those ones brought near. Perfect. Number 8. هذه الحياة. These are the easy ones. You must go now, inshallah. It gets harder later on.
Maulana,
Yes,
can I just
Bismillah.
ask you a question? Can I ask you a question about the previous one quickly?
Yes, Bismillah.
So I had it as those who are close, but that would be incorrect there.
See, when you say those who are close, it's fine because you're not saying those are the close ones. You with me? Those are the
Okay.
close ones in Mubtada and Khabar, but those who are close is similar enough because it's not a full sentence.
Okay.
Like if you said to someone, those who are close, you're still waiting for the Khabar to come. Like
Okay.
those who are close are
Shukran.
successful. So that'll be fine, inshallah. Bismillah, number 8.
I can do it. Number
Okay,
8.
Bismillah. While you're there,
Okay.
on the 9, Bismillah.
So
هذه الحياة.
those lives.
Okay.
And then it would
So
be
al-hayat, you can translate it as life.
okay.
So how do you say hadi? What does hadi mean?
This.
So how do you translate hadi al-hayat?
So to be this life.
This life. Good. Hadi al-hayat, this life. And the two labels?
Ismul Isharah would be the hadihi, and then the life would be musharun ilay.
How do we know life is feminine?
We know that it's a follow because it's got the al in
Okay,
the
good.
front.
And how do we know that hayat is feminine? Feminine.
Because of the third marbuta at the end.
Okay, perfect. So the hayat is feminine ta marbuta, therefore we refer to it as hadihi, not hada. Hadi al-hayat, this life, ismul ishara and musharun ilay. Okay, shukran, perfect. Number 9. هذا حلال وهذا حرام. Sister Noor, Bismillah, do you want to go?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes. Okay, I have this is lawful and this is unlawful.
Okay, good, perfect. So let me just put my labels here. Okay. Okay, good. So this here is هذا حلال. This is lawful and this is prohibited or unlawful. That's fine. Good. And what about the other? Okay, tell me about the labels on the words.
The hada is ismul ishara.
Okay. And the halalun?
I'm not sure about the halal one.
Okay. So I'll give you
Because
some.
we said
Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am, it can't be the other one because it doesn't have the al in front of it.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes. So if you translate hada halalun on its own, how do you translate those two words?
this is lawful.
This is lawful. So when you say something is something, what construction do we have?
Is it mubtada khabar?
Perfect. So it's a mubtada khabar. So actually we'll say that the hada is a ismul ishara, but the actual label on it, the ismul ishara is the type of word. It's actually the mubtada, and the halalun is going to be the khabar, because something is a full sentence, a jumlatul ismiya. So when you say hada halalun, you're saying a full sentence. You're saying this is lawful. What about the hada haramun? Which labels do you put on there?
Is it not the same, Maulana?
Perfect. It'll be the same. So there again, I wanted also to see that sometimes you can have one ayah or one phrase, but you can have two jumlas. So even when you say hada halalun wa hada haramun, we actually have two jumlas in one, even though it's one sentence. So هذا مبتدا حلال خبر, this is lawful, and هذا, this حرام is impermissible, unlawful, prohibited, khabar. So we have the wa, which joins two sentences, sentence 1 and sentence 2. Okay, good. Next one, هذه جهنم. Bismillah wants to go.
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
هذه جهنم is this is hell.
Okay, this is hell. It's almost sound like an expression people use every day. So when they're working very hard, they say this is hell. So then you can say that هذه جهنم. Anyway, sometimes you could say it, but anyway. So good. So هذه جهنم. There's no al there, so we add is and r. This is hell. What are the labels on the two?
هذه would be your mubtada
Okay, good.
and جهنم would be your khabar.
Okay, perfect. This will be mubtada and this will be khabar. And again, whenever you say something is something, you have mubtada and khabar. Okay, good. Number 11. ذلك هو الفضل الكبير. Okay. So what I'll do is that let me just do this one quickly for you, and then it will make sense. So I want you to go back to number 2. Can you see, or number 4? And Brother Irshad was asking about it, and probably many of you are wondering about it. Can you see number 4 says ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ, that bounty. ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ, that bounty. Now if you go to number let me just take out this, one second. Let me just take this out for 1 second. And just fill this white quickly. Why do you fill this thing white? There we go. Just leave out Kabir for a second. Just say ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلُ. So the number 4 said ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ, and this one says ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلُ. So ذَلِكَ means that. ذَلِكَ means that. So if I didn't have the huwa, it would have been that bounty. But if I add the huwa, in a sense, what the huwa does, it like separates between the dhalika and the fadlu. The huwa is like a separator. So if I didn't have the huwa in it, would have been that bounty. But if I put the huwa in, it's a separator, and I say that is the bounty. Okay. So in other words, in Arabic, how do I say that bounty? ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ. How do I say that is a bounty? ذَلِكَ فَضْلٌ. How do I say that is the bounty? ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلُ. So to say that is the something, I add a separator in it. I add a separator in it. There are, Brother Isharah, Bismillah.
How do you know then which pronoun to use? Is it based on the second word?
It will be based on the first word. So we'll come to number 13 now. It says like ulaika hum. Ulaika is a plural for a plural. Well, I suppose it can be both. It's based on the. Yeah, it's based on. I'm thinking it's based on the context basically. So if I'm referring to one thing, I say huwa. If I'm referring to a group of males, I say whom in between.
So if you were to say
who I'm referring to.
So like for example with tilka, there's two meanings with that. It could be that or those. It could be single or plural. Then would that change?
So I'll look at the second word, then I'll say that the second word is plural, and I'll know from there.
Okay, cool. Shukran.
Okay. And then in terms of the Nahwu of this, there's two ways of looking at the Nahwu, and they're both acceptable. I'll give it to you, but don't stress about it because it's not really that critical. So basically, what I can do is I can make this mubtada, and I can make this khabar. And I just say ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلُ, that is the bounty, And the huwa, I don't put any label on. So that's the one option. That's the first option. Because you know, like you have different madhabs, like Hanafi and Shafi'i, you also get different madhabs in Nahwu also. So sometimes there's also ikhtilaf on the labels you add in. The second option you can do with this is that you can make huwa a mubtada and make khabar and make the fadlu a khabar. So in other words, it's like one set. Huwa al-fadlu, it is the bounty, and this whole thing, huwa al-fadlu, is the khabar for dhalika. So I don't too stress about it, but I'm saying for those of you who want to know the labels, those are the two options that you have. Is that you can do it like this. You can say the huwa is the mubtada and the fadlu is the khabar, and this whole thing is the place of the khabar for dhalika. Or maybe the easier one is just to say that the dhalika is the mubtada and fadlu is the khabar, and the huwa I don't put the label on. But don't worry about the labels too much for this one. Just remember, if I want to say that is the something, and then I just add a separator in between. Okay, in Arabic it's literally called damir fasl. It's called a pronoun which is a separator. It's called a separator pronoun in Arabic. Okay. We'll do some more examples, more coming out of those, inshallah. Number 12. Tilka ayatullah. Sister Noor, do you want to go?
Yes, Malana. Okay, I'm not sure if it's right, but what I have is those are the signs or verses of Allah.
Those are the signs / verses, depending on the context, of Allah. Perfect. So again, I'm saying those there because I'm referring to a plural of a non-human thing. I'm referring to signs. So I'll say those are the signs of Allah. Perfect. Do you want to give me the labels?
Okay, the tilka can be the ismul isharah or
Okay.
mubtada.
Okay, so the mubtada, yes. It's ismu ishara in terms of the word is, but the function is mubtada. Good.
And then the ayatullah is the khabar.
Okay, so the ayat specifically is the khabar. Can you say ayat is light and the word Allah is jar?
Yes, and then can it also be mubtada khabar?
Okay, no, mubtada khabar.
I mean,
Remember,
sorry, mudaf ilayh.
mudaf and mudafun ilay. Good. So the word Allah is the mudafun ilay, and the word ayat at the same time as being khabar is also mudafun. Okay. So translation, ذلك tilka, that those are the verses of Allah. Okay. Number 13, who wants to go? Can we have some new students? Can someone who hasn't gone go inshallah? Just translation and labels. But Tawfiq, did you have a chance today? It's Tahir, I didn't have a chance yet.
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. Okay.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Sister Asima, bismillah. MashaAllah.
I'll go. That is, I've got ulaika. I've got those are the believers.
Okay.
Ulaika is the mubtada, and I've got then humu. I just put. I don't know. I don't have a label for that because that's the separator, and then the khabar. Al mu'minuna.
You picked up fast on the previous example. Okay, so ulaika is the mubtada and the al-mu'minuna is the khabar. And again, if I didn't have the hum in there, okay, if I didn't have the hum in there, it would be ulaika al-mu'minun, would have been those believers. But now I want to say those are the believers, so I put in the separator. Ulaika humul mu'minun, those are the believers. Perfect. I should go back here because I actually edited this here. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلُ الْكَبِيرُ. I just simply make this ذَلِكَ, that is the great bounty. And this will be a sifa. Because I deleted the kabir earlier. It will be a sifa. Okay, good. Next one, who wants to go? Brother Tawfiq, Sister Tahira.
Brother Tawfiq sent me a WhatsApp to say that he'd like to go.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, I'll go more now.
Bismillah. Ulaika min as-salihin.
Min as-salihin, those among the righteous.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is that, remember, if there's no al, there's a min after the ismul ishara.
Yes.
So if there's no al, we're going to add a is or an r.
Those. Maaf, can one repeat that?
So the word after ulaika, there's no al after it. There's a min after it. So we add a is or an r.
Okay, so
those
those
are
among the righteous.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, they say min is from.
Okay.
Those are from the righteous. Okay, let's go for the labels, inshallah. So ulaika min as-salihin.
Ismul Isharah, or it will actually be in this case now mubtada.
Mubtada, perfect. So what is the min then?
Oh, I would still label it as harful jar.
Okay, good, perfect. So it's a harful jar. And what did you label the salihin as?
I would label that ismul majrur as well as
okay, so
ismul
ismul majrur. Okay, I'll come to khabar now, inshallah. So ismul majrur. Okay, ismul majrur. Okay, good. So min harful jar, as-salihin ismul majrur, and ulaika is the mubtada. So the thing we're missing is the khabar. So if I had to ask you, like from a logical point of view, what is the news about those?
It's the rest of the sentence.
The rest of the sentence, good. So what we would actually, we haven't done it before in class yet, but what we'd do is we'd say that this year, where's my pen? We'd say that this year, minas salihin, my pen is not working here, but anyway, for some reason, let me change my line, I think the line color. Okay, there we go. That this year, minas salihin, this whole thing here takes the place of the khabar. So we haven't done it yet before, but you can just start just kind of processing it. That sometimes a khabar is not visible, then something else takes its place. So from a logical point of view, I'm saying ulaika, those, that's the mubtada. And as soon as I add is and are, I know it's a jumatul ismiya. So ulaika, those, give me news about those, minas salihin, that those are from the righteous, from the pious. So that's this whole thing here will be the khabar.
So it's not only pronouns that can be separated. It's like previously it was just whom and huwa that we used. And now we see it's harful jar as well.
Yeah, so what happens is that that's not a separator in the sense that as-salihin is not the khabar. So the min plus the salihin together, that whole thing takes the place of the khabar. Okay. So it's different from the separated discussion.
But it's still an exception because then we're adding like a is or are.
Yes, yes, yes. So what this is what we maybe do later, maybe 2-3 weeks time, is that there are different types of khabar. So this is a type of khabar that we haven't done before. So this min as-salihin is a form of the khabar that we haven't done before, which we're doing like now on the fly, is that sometimes you don't have a one-word khabar like ar-rajulu tawilun. Sometimes you have some things that replace the khabar. And this is one of the replacements of the khabar. So it's new in terms of our default rule.
Okay, shukran.
Okay, perfect. So ulaika minas salihin, those are from the righteous. Okay, bismillah, who's going next? Bismillah.
I missed class last week, but I'm going to try.
Yes, bismillah. That is your kafara, your expiation. Bismillah. Ulaika qawmun mujrimun. Okay, translation first of all. Oh no, ulaika, haulai qawmun mujrimun.
Haulaika, yeah. So these, haulaika is, sorry, no. Haulaika is these, right?
Haula is
these are-
these, is good.
Yeah, so these. And it's a sentence. It's a mubtada. So it's these are sinning nation or
These,
because it's Qawmun is nation and Mujrimun is
okay.
sinner.
Okay, perfect. So haula'i, these are let's say a sinning people.
Okay.
These are a sinning people, a sinning nation, both fine. Qawm is like a people, a nation, those are all fine. Okay, perfect. So can you do, let's try the labels, inshallah.
Haula'i is a mubtada.
Haula is the mubtada, perfect.
Qawmun Mujrimun would be that would
Okay,
be
you can
khabar.
quite soft your volume. Qawmun is a khabar. Good. So haula'i qawmun on its own just means haula'i, those, not these, these, yeah, these are a people, or these, these are a people, yes. And mujrimun,
It would be a sifa for Qawmun.
mujrimun would be a sifa
Sifa
for
Qawmun.
qawmun. Perfect. Mujrimun would be a sifa for qawmun, and therefore qawmun would also be a mawsuf. Okay, perfect. Okay, so again here we have ha'ula'i, we have ismul ishara. The next word has no al, so add an is and r. Ha'ula'i, these are qawmun, a nation or a people, and mujrimun is just describing the people. These are a sinning people. Okay, perfect. Next one, hadhani khasmani. Who wants to go? This one you can guess because we haven't done it before. What do you think hadhani means?
These two are...
Two.
Good. So hadha is this one, and hadhani means these two. Because normally an in Arabic means two. Hadhani means these two. So how do you translate this? How do you translate this? What's the meaning of khasmun?
Opponent. So
Opponent. So how do you translate this two? These
are two opponents.
These are two opponents. Perfect. So let's give me the labels. Hadhani.
Is that the mubtada or...
Perfect. It's the mubtada. Why? Because the word after that has no al. What is the khasmani?
Khabar.
Khabar. How do I make khasmani into nasbun?
Khasmuni. How do you make it into? Nasb.
Into nasb or jar. I'll give you a clue. It's the same like muslimani.
Khasmaini.
Khasmaini. Good. So khasmaini would have been nasb or jar, but there because it's khasmani, ani is raf'un, aini is nasbun or jarrun. So perfect. So hadhani khasmani means these, like this two here. Hadha, this one thing. Hadhani, this two things. These two. Khasmani means these are two opponents. Hadhani mubtada. Sorry, and this should be khabar here. This is khabar. And they're both in raf'un, and therefore you learn there's something, if you refer to two things, you say hadhani. Perfect. Bismillah, want to go? Sister Noor, Bismillah. ذلك يوم الوعيد.
Yes, okay, Marina. I'm just not sure about the last word, but I have that is the day. It's either of the promise or of promise. That is the day of promise, or that is the day of the promise.
Okay, let me see what translation I gave you there. Promise. Technically speaking, the word wa'id means a promise of a negative outcome. So the word wa'id actually means a threat. Like when you promise something bad, like if you don't listen to me, I'll tell your father or something. So I'll tell your father is like wa'id. So that is the day of the, we can say promise, or the day of the threat. A negative promise. Okay. Bismillah, let's try the labels. ذلك يوم الوعيد.
Okay, it's ذلك is a mubtada and
Perfect.
khabar, and then it's also the the mudaf ilayh.
Okay, excellent. So let me just take this to here. So basically, dhalika is the mubtada because the word after it has no visible al. There is an invisible al there because it's a mudaf, but there's no visible al. So I add an is or a. Dhalika, that is, yawm is light followed by jar, so it's the something of something, the day of the promise. Perfect. Number 18, Bismillah, who wants to go? The easy one, هذا شيء عجيب.
Sorry, for number 17, you said that there's no visible L on Yom. So you're saying that is the day. Shouldn't it be that day?
So because there's no visible al, I add an is or an r. And when there is a visible al, I don't add an is or an r.
Add L on the mudaf ilayh. You don't pick it up.
Yeah. So because there's no visible al, I add is and r, but there is an invisible al, so I say the day. I'm just losing your volume, Tahira, so I didn't hear you that well at the end. Okay, هذا شيء عجيب. بسم الله. Have you heard the word ajib before?
Yes.
So what does ajib mean?
That is a strange thing.
Okay.
Shay'un is a strange. I'm
So
trying.
like first of all, the word ajib, it really depends on context. Ajib can mean something positive or something negative. So like if you see like say you go on top of Table Mountain and you look at the beautiful view, you say, MashaAllah, hada shay'un ajib. This is a beautiful view. It's something which is amazing, astounding. And maybe you walk down the road and you see a man dressed up in a monkey suit or in a whatever ladybird suit. Look at him and say, hada shay'un ajib. That means that's a weird guy. You with me? So ajib can mean something like amazing, or ajib can mean something weird and strange.
So this is a strange thing, or this is
So this
amazing.
is a strange thing. So the context here is not positive. So yeah, هذا شيء عجيب. This is a strange thing. Good. Take me to the labels.
Mubtada.
هذا is a mubtada. Good, because the word after there's no al. Where's the khabar?
Yeah. Shay'un ajib.
So the word shay'un is the khabar. So if I leave ajib off, هذا shay'un, this is a thing. So mubtada, khabar. What's the function of the word ajib?
Sifa.
It is sifa for shay'un. What about thing? A strange thing. A strange thing. Good. Last two. ضربنا للناس في هذا القرآن من كل مثل. Anyone want to go?
Then I'll try this one, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, Isharah.
Bismillah.
So I got the translation as, we struck for people in this Quran from all examples.
Okay, good. We struck or presented, I find
Yeah, presented, yeah.
We struck, presented for people in this Quran from every example.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's try all the labels.
Okay, so ضربنا is a فعل ماضي.
Where's the doer?
The ضربنا, so at the end.
Good. So the na at the end is the fa'il. Perfect. What's
Then
the li?
للناس, there's a حرف جر اسم مجرور.
Okay, I'll just add ism majruriya because I don't have lots of space. I'll just add ism majruriya. Perfect.
So the li and the nasi, so that translates into for people. Then
okay.
fi ha the is harful jar for the fi, and then the ismul majrur is hadha.
Okay.
Then the hadha for the hadha al-Qur'ani is keep forgetting his name, ismun Isharah, and the
Good.
al-Qur'ani is ilay, so the musharun ilay.
Okay, good. So just okay, let's catch up with you. This is
Oh,
ismul.
maaf.
No problem, inshallah. So as we can see here, that the ismul ishara is in which hal?
The ismun Isharah
The hadha is
al-Qur'ani
in which hal?
jar
In jar. Why? Because it is.
after the harful jar.
Because it is after harful jar. It's ismul majrur. So therefore you can see that the hadha is in jar, and therefore we can also see that al-Qur'ani is not. It can't be fi hadha al-Qur'ana or hadha al-Qur'anu. It must be hadha al-Qur'ani. Why?
Yeah, because the hadha is, it must follow the hadha.
Because it's a follower of a hadha. Good. Carry on. Min.
Okay, min is another harful jar.
Yes, and good. And kulli.
And then kulli is ismun majrur.
And kulli mathalin.
Is that not mudafun ilay?
That's good. Perfect. So kulli is mudaf and mathalin is mudafun ilay. MashaAllah. You almost did the whole year's work there. Okay. So we have, mashallah, we have lots of things there. And so we normally add then of, but it sounds a bit strange in English, but you can say from the every of example. So if you like do it like in awkward English, it would be from the every of example, from every example. Okay, perfect. So darabna, we struck, we presented linnas for people fi in hadha al-Quran, this Quran, min from kulli mathalin, from every example. Good, well done, Brother Shah, mashallah. Now we're going to do the last one, number 20. Ulaika kataba fi qulubihimul imana. Who wants to go? Last one. ختامه مسك. إنما الأعمال بالخواتيم. أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان.
For the previous one, kulli mathalin, did you say that's mudaf ilay?
Yes. Because kulli is not al and it's light. It's not kullin. Kulli is light and mathalin is jar. So I'm saying like you should actually add a the before kulli and a of afterwards. So it's from the every of example.
Doesn't it also look like why is it not mawsuf and sifa? I was thinking that. Doesn't it agree in all the gender?
The kulli there is definite and the mathal is indefinite. Because remember the kulli is so if it would be mawsuf, it would be kullin mathalin.
Okay, yes.
And also the second word doesn't describe the first word.
I was just thinking like every example. It seems linked in some way. That's why I thought mawsuf sifa. But yes, it doesn't agree in definiteness.
Okay. Perfect. But Tawfiq, why don't you just go for the next one?
It's a difficult one, Maulana.
Yeah, Bismillah. No one else is responding, so Bismillah. Ulaika kataba fi qulubihimul iman. We do word for word. Ulaika, what's ulaika?
That's those.
Those.
Those. Kataba is he wrote.
Those. Okay, I'll put brackets here are because that's our rule. But then he wrote.
Then his fi is in harful jar.
Qulubihim.
And then qulub is hearts, but then there's a him, so I would say maybe their hearts. Iman is faith. Al-Iman. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me again?
So, no.
Bismillah. So which label do we put on ulaika?
Ulaika, I would say mubtada.
Mubtada, perfect. What do you put on kataba?
So it's definitely a fi'l madi.
The fi'lun. So it's a fi'l, and what sentence do I have? Jumatul fi'liya.
Yeah.
So where is the fa'il?
It's the huwa.
So it's the huwa that you can't see, it's inside there. The fa'il is the huwa inside there. Perfect. What's the fi?
Harful jar.
Harful jar. Good. And the qulubihim?
Qulub is ismul majroor, but it's also I think a mudaf ilay.
Yeah, and the him would be a mudafun ilay. Perfect. Because every damir attached to ism is mudafun ilay. How about the iman?
So that be maf'ulun bi.
Good. So what did he write? He wrote iman, so it's maf'ulun bihi. Okay, good. Now the golden question. So that's all perfect so far. If we have a mubtada, we must have a khabar.
Yes.
So if I ask you from a logical point of view, ulaika is the focus of the sentence. Ulaika is the focus of the sentence. Those, like a group of people, those. What is the news about those?
Yeah, I think again it's everything after that. He wrote in their hearts faith.
Okay, perfect. So all of this here, okay, it's a bit awkward thing, but okay, all of this here, this and this here, this whole part here is actually giving me the news about those, like those group of people. What's the news about them? كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان. He, Allah, wrote in their hearts iman. He, Allah, inscribed in their hearts iman. That's the news about those. Good. So that's going to be taking the place of the khabar. And what type of construction is كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان?
Jumlatul fi'liya.
Jumlatul fi'liya. Perfect. So what we learned something new here. We learned that sometimes you have a mubtada, which is a jumlatul ismiya, a mubtada, and then the khabar of that mubtada is a verbal sentence.
I see. Yeah.
The khabar of that mubtada is a verbal sentence. If that is confusing to you, I'll give you a very simple example. If I say الرجل ذهب إلى البيت. How do you translate that? ذهب إلى البيت. How do you translate the sentence here? But if you can come back and you can just be the student quickly.
What is dhahaba again, Maulana?
Dhahaba means went.
And that's arajulu.
Arajulu, yes.
The man went to the house.
The man went to the house. Arajulu, I don't know why this thing is showing the u there, but arajulu is the man went to the house. Perfect. So if I had to ask you, I'll tell you that arajulu is the mubtada. I ask you, what is the news about the man? What would you answer?
He went to the house. Dhahaba.
He went to the house is the news about it. And that he went to the house is a jumlatul fi'liya. So sometimes, not sometimes in Arabic, very often in Arabic, you'll find that a jumlatul fi'liya takes the place of the khabar. So the same thing here, ulaika is the focus of the sentence. Kataba fi qulubihim al-iman. He wrote in their hearts faith is a jumlatul fi'liya and it takes the place of the khabar. If you're a bit confused, it's fine, inshallah, it's not a problem. It's just that this is like more, that's why I leave these examples for the end of the exercise, because these are more advanced examples and they just give a good challenge to certain students who enjoy them. Okay, perfect.
Okay, Maulana, for the translation, why did you put, so it makes sense if you say those and then like sort of like a comma, those he wrote in their hearts faith. I don't understand that R. That's just
okay. So the reason I put the R there, I just want to be consistent with our rule that if you have no L afterwards, you add is or R. Okay. So basically, in terms of meaning, you you think of it like this. Ulaika, those, like those, that group are the ones who he wrote in their hearts faith.
Okay. That makes
You with me? So I just want to be consistent with our rule in case you wonder where the is or the are is. Okay. So again, when we I think a lot of studying Arabic is actually going beyond translation. Because if you wanted the translation, you could just open the translation and read the translation. But understanding Arabic often requires you to kind of switch translation off and understand the actual language as it is on its own. So أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان. If you think of it without translation, you think about it in terms of Nahwu labels, and like that's the focus of the sentence, the mubtada أولئك. I'm focusing on a group of people, and I'm giving you news about them. كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان, and the news is that he inscribed on their hearts Iman. Then the sentence makes sense, like without needing to translate it as well. Because on the translation, it's very difficult to match two languages one for one in terms of construction and so on. It's always an approximation. So that's the challenge of moving from Arabic to English. We're always approximating an English meaning to the Arabic. But the more you study the Arabic, the more you can sort of do the Arabic on its own without approximating the other language into it, if that makes sense. Okay, and just a tip also, a tip for those of you who are, and I think one of the things we haven't done enough in the course is focus on vocab. It's done not, and it's something we have to do a bit more kind of explicitly. It's done like implicitly. As we carry on, you learn a word here, you learn a word there. But for those of you who are focusing on vocab and learning vocab, for example, so you come to a new word, whatever, let's take a word like khasmani. A khasm is an opponent, someone who argues with you. I would advise that if you think of language, in language you have two things. You have the actual thing, and then you have a symbol of words to represent it. So if I draw it for you, quickly here, so I can have a word here, for example, fire. Then I can have that same word, for example, in Arabic, let's call that nar. And then I can try to draw a fire for you quickly here. For example, here's a fire here. And then here's another fire here. Okay. So when I speak, so language is effectively, it's effectively symbolic speech. So when I say nar in Arabic, I am taking words which intrinsically actually have no meaning and they're just sounds now, just a sound I make. But then I attach that thing, I can't draw an arrow here, attach this thing to this here. Okay, sorry. So I attach nar to this. So what is useful to do in Arabic is, when you're learning Arabic, is don't attach this to the word fire. Sorry, don't attach this to the word fire, because then you have to go 2 steps to get to the actual reality. Are you with me? So don't go nar means fire. So when you're learning nar, rather think of an actual fire. So your mind connects. Like when I say nar, I don't say what is nar in English. I picture a fire, if you're with me. So what you do is when you're learning Arabic words, always try to visualize the actual object as opposed to just memorizing the English translation of it. It will make your journey much richer, because now you think khasman is an opponent. Okay, I can put khasm, opponent. Or I put khasm and I actually, in my mind, I picture 2 people arguing there. I picture someone arguing, being an opponent and shouting something. And then I start bringing more reality to the actual word, because too much abstraction is difficult for the brain. So if that makes sense for you. because in the end, we're trying to communicate realities to each other. Always communicating a reality to each other, but it has to go through an encoding and decoding process. So a reality has to be encoded into language, then language has to be received and decoded in our own minds into reality. But now you have to have a reality, encode it into Arabic, come to our mind, translate it into English, and then decode into reality. It's like a long process. I don't know if all these musings make sense to you, but it makes sense to me. Is that try to always visualize the actual word reality directly when you come to the Arabic. Okay, and then it'll make your language much easier. So if you're doing like a field, an elephant or an asad or anything you're doing in Arabic, actually, kataba, you picture someone writing, you picture a pen. You can still say write, but always try to visualize the actual word. Okay, so just do that. It'll make sense for you. It'll make the language more real also, because that's how children actually learn. Is children learn through in early language development. A child doesn't use abstract speech. They have to have all speech is tied to actual concrete objects, and later on the abstract. So it's useful for you to follow the same approach. Okay, I was going to do some sarf today, but I don't want to get into sarf now because I think your brain has had enough. I don't want to just switch to another subject now altogether. I think it's a lot for your mind to go to it. So what I'm going to do, inshallah, is that we have come to almost the end of the Nahwu syllabus in terms of the conceptually. There's maybe one or two things I want to fill in, but the rest of the things I'm going to fill in is via the examples, not via like formal lessons. So what I'm going to do is that you can go to exercise 9.1 and you're nearing the end of your workbook. 9.1 is Jumlatul Ismiya from the Quran. So we've already done the concept of Jumlatul Ismiya, but in 9.1 now, it's Jumlatul Ismiya plus a lot of the other things that we have done, like Sifa Mawsuf, Harf Shal Ism Majroor, Mudaf Mudaf Nilay, tied into Jumlatul Ismiya. So your homework is going to be Jumlatul Ismiya from the Quran. And what I'm going to do for the next, let's say 10 minutes is I'm going to separate you into your breakout rooms, and you're going to start your homework together, inshallah. So if each one can take an example, Allahu Alimun, what you must do is two things. You must give me the translation and you must add the labels. Translation labels. Each one can get a turn, put on your mics, put on your cameras, try to say hello to your students, inshallah. So we're going to put you into breakout rooms and we're going to bring you back in 10 minutes time, inshallah. And that's your homework, inshallah. Okay, so 10 minutes, breakout rooms, and then we'll be back. So Nasreen will just put you in the back.